while while I set up the live streaming. So, what is the weather like in Uganda today?
Here in Gulu, especially, it's cloudy, but generally it has been raining across the country. You know,
Oh,
we
really?
the weather authority is saying between September and December we are going to have El Nino, so we expect a lot of rain in the remaining few months this year.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, yes.
And the truth is, the project that you are really working on, it's quite interesting. When I read about it, I said, okay, this is the kind of solution that people actually we need to start putting attention to drive inclusion and to also ensure that we get as much as possible, as much people as possible to know the truth. And sometimes
Mm.
when people talk about the fact that there are very few options. Uh, I will just say, no, 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 it's because you are not looking very close enough. That is why you are not seeing ambitious uh, projects. And that is, I'm really impressed by the creativity and the fact that your intervention is solving
Mm.
a particular niche problem. And yeah, so I'm really excited to have this conversation with you. So let's stop sharing. Okay, let me stop sharing screen and start the session. So hi everyone. Hello everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Paul Adepoju, and I'm the community manager for the International Center for Journalists at Camilla Howard Forum on Global Crisis Reporting. And we continue to bring attention to issues and ideas that are solving really critical problems in the communications landscape. And for journalists, we continue to do our best to equip you with the knowledge and insights that will be required in your day-to-day activities. And consistently, we are seeing many journalists shifting from reporting to starting ideas, starting converting their ideas into projects, which is really, really good because as far as effective communication is concerned, I personally believe that people that are actively involved in this space are the ones that are best positioned to chart the course of how um, communications landscape would eventually emerge. So I'm really glad that this is happening today. And today we have an opportunity to discuss about one of the projects that is being supported by the International Center for Journalists. A quick background to what we are doing today. So a couple of months ago, we had the Empowering the Truth Global Summit. And at the end of that summit, a total of 18 journalists were given grants to develop groundbreaking collaborative multimedia projects. And one of the beneficiaries is Willy Chowoo, who is here with us today. Willy's project is the goal of that project is to create a distribution network between the Journalists Union and the National Union for Disabled Persons in Uganda to ensure that the deaf and hard of hearing people who are often targets for misinformation campaigns have access to reliable news sources. And today, Joe will be sharing his project with us, the journey so far, and the path ahead. And by quick background, Joe is an investigative journalist. He's also an IT specialist and a data scientist. Among other recognitions, he's an Open Climate Reporting Initiative Fellow for 2022. Hi, Willy, and thanks for joining us today.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Thank you, those who are online there. I think it's a pleasure for me to speak to a very big network of journalists like this. Thank you
Uh,
very much for this initiative.
Yeah, thank you so much. And to all our participants, wherever you are joining us from, we would like you to engage with us. If you are here on the Zoom platform, use the chat box to let us know where you are joining us from and tell us your name and then just the part of the world where you are. And for everyone that is watching this live stream on Facebook, we also like to know, actively engage with us today. And let's interact and learn a lot about Willy's projects. And probably we are also going to get insights for whatever project you are working on. And if you are quite familiar with me, you will know that Paul is outside today. I'm usually in my night. Yes, yes, okay. Yes, I'm usually in my really nice quiet studio. Today outside, and you have to forgive my background noise if you are hearing some background noise today. So Willy, you have the presentation. Do you have that you'd like to take us through?
Yes, I don't know whether you can see my screen.
No, I think you need to start sharing it again. I stopped the sharing.
Okay,
so
okay. Let me share it again.
Yes, we can. I can see it louder. As you can see, I can clearly see it, and you can start the presentation right now.
Okay, thank you all very much. You're welcome to the Uganda project. I call it Uganda project because we are implementing in the country. Like my name is Chowoo Willy. I'm a seasonal journalist who have been working for the last 20 years. Our project, we call it Uganda Sign Language Project because we want to digitalize sign language. We want to make it be online for people who have barriers to communication, maybe online or face-to-face. So this project, as you can see, we are trying to offer an alternative solution through digital inclusion for the deaf community in Uganda. Briefly, I would like to give a background to this project here. You know, the issue of the deaf or people with disabilities, the global concerns, like as reported by World Health Organization, they anticipate by 2050, 1 in every 10 people in the world, that will be equal to about 700 million people will be having disabling lost. So it means a big concern. As we talk now, 5% of the global population require rehabilitation as a result of disabling hearing loss. So this is a big concern globally. Aware that, you know, Uganda is one of the African countries with a high number of people suffering from different disabilities. As like you can say here, we have the physical disability, the vision impairment, mental health, mental or therefore hard to hearing people. And this is where I am today. According to the latest statistic from Ugandan Ministry of Labor, Gender, Labor and Social Development, as of last year, people who have problem with hearing, they're about 1,290,000. That represents about 3% of the population of the country. As we talk now, they're estimated to be around 44 to 45 million. So this is the greatest percent. When you look at one of the greatest percent of people who are being excluded, they're like the minority who are excluded from the country to benefit from many government projects. You know, they have their national association, we call it Uganda National Association of the Deaf. According to the survey they have done recently, they said 87% of them do not have access to service delivery of public services in Uganda because of communication barrier. Now, there are very few people who easily can communicate to this. And secondly, they are left out. They are not part of the digital inclusion we are talking today about. You know, we are trying to go digital transformation. So I'm bringing this challenge, this background, because if a person cannot access maybe health services, education, legal and public services in any country in the world, not only in Uganda, that's already a big gap. Let me give an example of a legal issue. In Gulu here, where I'm in northern Uganda, there's a girl who was defiled or raped 12 times because of 2,000 shillings. And there's a man who used to come in a home where if the parents are not at home, he came and gave 2,000 shillings. And every time the parents are not at home, he will come and abuse. So one day, his day came, the girl, through someone who is an interpreter, reported, and he was apprehended and brought to the court. And from the court here itself, even there was no translator before the magistrate. So they had to look for someone else. So they brought in the interpreter, then the court went and sent this guy to prison. So, you know, Uganda is one of the African countries. You know, we have only 5 African countries that has recognized or that have recognized sign language as an official language. But potentially, apart from the public services, these people also, they are at the disadvantage of being the victim of the rising cases of misinformation and disinformation spreading across the country and every society. So the deaf community, particularly, as I told you before due to communication barrier, they are vulnerable to disinformation. And unfortunately, they also have problem of accessing digital content and accurate information, either from the community members or online. So due to this big kind of problem, there are many factors, and at least them here, lack of accessible media. The media in the country, there are about 3 televisions that have option for sign language interpreter, particularly at the time when they're reading news. Not every show they do. And when it comes to radio, it's worst. Though the deaf could not easily or cannot listen to radio, but the people they stay with in the society they live in, they get those information. Now they're the ones spreading disinformation and misinformation in society. When you come look at the rise of social media today, as I talk now, about 59.5% of the global population are on social media. And these have become a platform where disinformation are generated and misinformation is spreading every time and again. Now, this is coupled with lack of awareness of fact-checking resources. There are very few accredited organizations that do fact-checking. And if they do, they don't do it for the deaf. They do it for other ordinary people like us who can see, read, listen, not the deaf. And based on this background, after attending the Empowering through the Global Summit, this idea came into my mind. I'm a technologist. I can't use digital platform, digital tools to generate short videos to tell story. How best can we translate this to be like a digitalized sign language where, like in Uganda, we were sharing before, we are expecting El Nino to come in the country. So during that time when it comes there are going to be a lot of disinformation. So that thing came into my mind, why can we train a group of sign language interpreters on producing multimedia content in sign language? That will, one way, bridge the gap of information sharing among the deaf community. 2, they use that content, again, to produce digital content that will counter disinformation and spread of misinformation among the disabled society. This is just the birth of the project. Now, when this thing came into my mind, I decided to write and benefit from this grant to help me, mobilize training for at least 10 sign language interpreters, and then 5 radio presenter. This is like the goal of our project. When the project I said, we use sign language to disarm because it's a very powerful tool when it's properly used among the deaf community. Then we need to empower this sign language interpreter on how best they can use multimedia content to share truth among the deaf community, meaning they're going to debunk disinformation in society. And that's to debunk disinformation, you must have element how you can use the digital tools to verify, to fact check, and at the end of the day, the end product will be say, okay, the information is true, the information is false, and then you will decode it on a video and share with the deaf community. So we are running this project on this slogan, don't share, first verify, as you see at the bottom here. Then, when you look at these objectives, training 10 sign language interpreter on information debunking, to digitalize sign language kind of in Uganda. So we want it to be online, not physically. When they meet, they talk face to face. Say, okay, I may be in Kenya, I may be in Western Uganda, I may be in Kampala, Central Uganda. But if there's some information that can be accessed online, so why can't we record a short video that tell a story of something? Maybe too much rain. Maybe there's some else information. We know that, during COVID-19, the deaf were left behind. And in Uganda, there are some people who were shot and they lost their life. So we are saying, why can we have a uniform information that's spread across the digital platform? I record a short video telling a particular story, maybe about vaccine, maybe there's some kind of spreading disinformation about climate change. It can be on health, it can be on education, it can be on anything, maybe traffic, employment. So this is generally the concept of digitalizing sign language in Uganda. So if I train these fact checkers, I call them the community fact checkers, the sign language interpreters, they're going to be called community fact checker. Because in this project, we are looking at It's sign language, we have trained them. Some sign language interpreters, we have trained them to identifying at least 3 households where people who are living with the deaf or hard to hearing people are living in. So you go and talk to the near person. Can be a friend, a family friend, can be a relative, a husband, a wife, a sister, an auntie, a father, and a mother. So that when any information that comes out on the digital platform, if it's not verified, they first need to not share it, or they use the sign language interpreter. We have trained them how to basically verify information, to first fact check, verify, and send it back to them. Whatever is spreading on social media about ABC is not true. The truth of the matter is this. Then the fourth element was how can we look at the digital inclusion for the deaf community? Of late, government of Uganda has come out with what we call parish development model. This is an initiative initiated by President of Uganda with the main objective of fighting poverty at the parish level. But when this project came, many, if not all, the deaf community are not part of it because there's no one who is to tell them about the story. So we are looking at how best can we be part of the digital inclusion for the deaf community. Because we cannot say we are moving into digital transformation when one part of the society is not moving. So that was the idea. Then the last one, people were asking, why do you train journalists? They talk on radio and the deaf don't listen to radio. No, we are saying, no, these are people who are always on top of information. If something is wrong, they must be able to verify and correct it before it is spread further. So we trained 6 journalists and more especially the talk show host, radio presenter from the top 6 radio stations in the land where I am. Basically, one, if they're communicating, they should make their news content accessible to the deaf. You know, there are minority stations that have gone digital. They have WhatsApp, they have Facebook, they have YouTube, even they're running TV online, YouTube on account, TV on a YouTube. So we say, why can't you even record a short information passing coming out to your media outlet? Even if the headline will only share on those digital platforms, even announcement that you feel everybody should know, you can use it and record with this sign language interpreter. We have trained them so that they are the information can be accessed. At the same time, when we are training, we found there's a lot of what we call digital literacy. People do not have the technical skills required to use the digital tools to get right information and fight this, the spread of disinformation. The journalists were basically trained on how to get these digital tools, verify information and quickly send it out there. That's why I had an objective. So in this project, there are 2 categories of beneficiaries. The first one was the sign language interpreters. We wanted to train these people so that they become community agents. We call it the community agents. They work the community, they stay in the community, so that they spread the word of how dangerous is disinformation at the moment. In whatever sector, can be in agriculture, can be health, can be in church. So they are becoming the main target and they're the primary targets of this project. They are main target because they're going to work at the end of this project is going to work with the community. Then we bring in the radio, I already talked about it. Let me talk about the community. The community element is that from these families where the deaf community are living, we are sending the sign language interpreter to them, to the members who are able. They share with them basically on how this information has become today. And basically how they can use simple tools to verify. Maybe on a website that is sharing that, maybe the source of the news, basically before they talk about it. Then the community here refer it back to the sign language interpreter who in their own group, they have now created a WhatsApp group where they link themselves and the deaf community to quickly verify and do simple recording to counter disinformation. That was the beneficiary. You know, how the deaf communicate or how do they access information? We have realized that about 3 or 4 more the information distribution. One, they get information from video they send on WhatsApp, video on YouTube, video on TikTok, video on Facebook. So that way, basically, we train these people how best they can record video messages with clear disinformation message, share it again on the same platform we are here having them. Then there's what we call short messages. There are some of these people who are able to read and write. For those who are not on WhatsApp, for those who are not owning smartphone, they send SMS about certain information that they feel is key for them to know or is misleading and they want to correct. Then the same platform like WhatsApp, Facebook, and social media platform, they can use what they call text. You can write the whole text about something, maybe you find information is not right, you do it like that. Then there's what we call image tech overlay. On an image that is training, which is not right, if you, this sign language interpreter already verified, check, and found out that the information is true or partly true or false or partly false, then they write on the image, this image was taken from this and this and this. Then the last one, that's the last component of our project, is face-to-face. As I said before, community members are the last beneficiary of this project because they stay in the community. And by the way, misinformation spread a lot physically among the community, more than even some of those who are online. So the gospel, I mean, it became the whole village talking about one thing. It has ever happened in this part of this country. So what we are saying, let these community members be the agents of the sign language interpreters. We have trained them to become community fact checkers. If you hear something that you feel you are doubtful, before you spread it further, get in touch, you can send a text, you can call, or you find a way of reaching them. This is the three ways we are distributing our message to reach out to the community as disarming information is concerned. It's a 3-month project, and the first part was physical training. We have done it for 1 week, and that training was presided over by the president representative in Gulu City, that's the resident city commissioner, where he placed support to this project, and we are going to talk to line ministers to find a way how best we can make this one become a national program. Look like this is the first time in Uganda where sign language is trying to be digitalized. At the same time, the sign language interpreter are brought on board to fact check information for the deaf community. Then 2, we are now in the second component. We are doing mentorship program. 1-on-1, they come, like we meet every day. We have like about 4 segments. We meet every day because you are paired them 2-2-2. You come and say, okay, this area, I don't understand it well. How best can we go? So for the last 2 weeks, we have been meeting every time and again how best they can package the information and deliver it down to the deaf community, how best they can enhance their digital skill using the digital tool to look for information that's not correct online and correct it using the sign language. Then the second last one is a community engagement. Community engagement already highlighted. After this project, beginning next month, we already assigned these people to look for 3. Some of them have already identified 5 households. So they go in the community, they share the gospel of fighting or disarming disinformation among society using digital tools or physically using available resources like these people who have been trained. Then the last one here is the continuous one. We have so far helped one radio talk show. This radio talk show was streamed live on a digital platform. It was hosted on JSFM for 1 hour. I stream it passionately on my digital platform, that is Facebook, and we shared on a new digital platform we created. It was done in 2 ways. The 2 people who came as guests, both as sign language trainers. So one will be speaking like I do, one will be interpreting. They did it interchangeably. So if you look at that flick on my social media, these are the way we want the media to be. If there are talk show going on radio, why can you bring a sign language interpreter and stream on your social media platform? If there are serial talk show going on apart from the spread of disinformation, any other thing, because we want to offer inclusion. These are things that's going. We are going to have another talk show next month. In that next month of September, there are many engagements we are going to do. I'm going to briefly talk about it. Like we are going to have international weeks of days, week of awareness, deaf awareness. There are many things going to take place here. I will talk about it in front. So these are the project timeline. Now, people are wondering, how can we fact check misinformation or disinformation in a disabled community like here we're talking about? Not only the deaf and the other people with the disability. We say, okay, we use digital tools. The digital tool, there are many to verify images, to verify maybe videos. You can even verify websites. Why can we use this? Yet we have the available sign language interpreters. So we are using this digital tool to fact check so that this encounter in misinformation and disinformation online, we are using the sign language interpreter to record it in a video. If they verify it, they found out the result, record it, and we train them on bringing this. You put something you already verified on the background, then you talk over, what we call overlay. At the same time, we embed in what we call text, because we want it not to benefit the deaf community only. If you are speaking sign language like I'm doing here, someone there who is not deaf will not be able to understand if he or she can read. So we are now brought in element of having a moving text. We are having transcripts of whatever is being interpreted in sign language moving there. At the same time, sometimes we also bring audios. Someone speaking in the language, speaking in a local language, then the translation will be in English, then the sign language will be the major one. So this is how best we can physically fact check using the available. Then the second part is that face-to-face. I said there's a lot of spread of misinformation amongst community, and this is what we train them. They work with the community, stay in the community. So if they hear something, they use the community leaders to finally get the right thing from the community. Then they tell them, maybe during community meeting, whatever you're hearing in the community here about this is not true. These are people who have their own agenda. We have verified and we found the truth of the matter, this and this and this. Please stop spreading this because it may injure other people, it may cause fears, it may cause what. So this is what the two ways how we can fact check disinformation or misinformation among the disabled society, not only the deaf, even when people have a physical disability. As we move towards the end, so far, this is what we have done. One, instead of training in 10, the number went up to 11. There was one old woman, 47 years old, who came and she was not part of the team, not within the budget line. So the team sat down and said, okay, 47, this woman should be having a lot of passion for this project. So we maintain our deliberate. Now, in the uniqueness with this project, in many trainings I've ever trained people, the majority have made, but this is unique. And I think it's an added advantage to us. We trained out of the 11, 9 were female mothers. So which means these mothers are the ones who have more interfaces or interface with the deaf community than the male. And when I went to the Sign Language Training Center here at Gulu, majority of people who went there are mothers, are female, are women. Meaning, these are people who are in interface always, most of the time with the deaf community. So we train 11 sign language interpreter. One, how can they make multimedia content? To make multimedia content, meaning bridging the gap. If you want to share information about health, you must be able to produce a content that's appealing, that's clear, that's correct, that's appropriate. Then when it comes to fact checking, you verify, you cross check, you spot this information, what we call claims. Then you verify your claim, you report back when you recorded it on video. So that someone who cannot hear are able to see the illustration through the hands. This is what we have so far done. I'm very happy. Out of this, we have recorded a series of multimedia short messages, sharing it with the disabled community at the same time with other ordinary members of the community. So by training these 11 fact checkers in sign language, they have been able to get, some of them already been hired for events. Like as I talk now, we have one of the biggest crusades taking place here in Gulu, where the first family, the dad of the president is a pastor, she's coming here. So they have taken 6 of the 11 people who have trained, trying to do sign language interpretation at that time when they're trying to preach. So this is a great achievement so far, 6 of them, and they're finishing on Saturday, it started yesterday. So they're there for the remaining days. So this is how we easily expose them. We made people to know that they're relevant. We have been advocating, even if in churches, at funeral places, in any public gathering, there must be need for these people there so that we bridge the gap of digital inclusion and the gap of having all people on board, not only online. Then we have one talk show, I really talk about it. The talk show majorly was about the danger of, we share about the danger of sharing information without verifying. And mainly it was 1 hour, people called, it was interactive, the recording there. Then maybe awareness. We did something awareness, especially on available resources. Like in Africa, we have PES Check. If you go to their PESA Check, if you go to their website, they have a lot of information they've done there. We have Africa Check, and then you have Dubawa, and they're there. So we talk about if maybe you want to, you go to this website, you see a number of information that already been for check, verify, and fact check. So you acquaint yourself, if maybe you have information you want them to verify their contacts there, you can easily reach them. So this is what we are majorly sharing. Then we train 6 journalists, already talk about it, and don't need to talk much about this. So we already talk about that. Then in this part here, I want to just talk about partnership engagement. We are looking at the future prospects. After these 3 months, what do we do? Do we close the project? What do we do? Now, I'm like the lead trainer of this project. I've held a number of meetings with the media managers. One on how best they can make their digital content accessible to the deaf community. 2, how they can involve the sign language interpreter in their programming, like I've mentioned before. And then three, can they be part of the, maybe they read only the news headlines in their media, they record in the video for 30 seconds and share in their digital platform. And we share also on our platform, we open online so that people who are not able to listen, when they look there, they will be able to see it. The next round of meeting is we now having engagement with introducing fact-checking in the newsroom, whatever comes on the air, how best we can introduce fact-checking in the newsroom. The editors, the reporter needs to go beyond the normal principle of fact cross-checking. They move from cross-checking to what we call fact-checking. Someone may rightly say something, but when you verify, you find that the misinformation is leading, and it's worse with politicians, and it's worse during election time. So we want this, how best they can support the project. We offer them digital expertise, then they can look for other resources so that we bring a team of network that will be able to fight the spread of disinformation in society we live in. And then we are at a meeting with the Deaf Association here in Gulu. In Gulu, we call it Gulu District Deaf Association. It's a branch of the Uganda National Deaf of the Deaf. I mean Uganda National Association of the Deaf, and they're here. This engagement is mainly on the forthcoming International Deaf Awareness Week, where I've got now one talk show with one radio station here, how best they can mobilize their own. This mobilization will be done in sign language, but someone will be interpreting, be listening to radio, and we plan to stream it live so that it will help to bridge the gap with the deaf community. Because Gulu is hosting the national celebration, and there are a lot of things like playing football. So we already recorded the message, share on WhatsApp, about the awareness about the football, the team playing, that one of the sign language interpreters have done it. We are sharing on digital platforms so that they could be able to do it. And then further engagement, we created a WhatsApp group where it's under the Gulu Deaf Association, because they have the numbers, and we want that numbers plus the sign language interpreter to be together. And the deaf, we are emphasized, whatever you hear in society, even if not online, please share it on this WhatsApp group for the deaf and the sign language interpreter so that they'll be able to quickly verify and get the right thing. At the same time, also the content online or which they're not sure about it, it will be there. And that WhatsApp group also will be used mainly to bridge gap in communication, or especially on government intervention, and anything that we feel the deaf community should be able. So we have agreed to design at least 20 video recorded messages geared toward disinformation awareness during the time. And we are looking for a talk show. We are going to move from main radio station with them. How best we can make this become a big debate in the country and geared toward having a policy that provides digital inclusion for all the disabled society in Uganda. When we did the training, many media houses came, and it was on local television, national newspapers, online publications, and I think this created awareness about the existence of these people and the need to have this information verified, fact check, and send it out. Have some newspaper in US have contacted me to write about the project. I don't know whether they're published in their magazine. If in America, if they did it there, then I'll be able to share the link. As I talk now, I receive call every day from journalists who wanted to interview people. Like this morning, I had a meeting with one of the guys in the local television here, and a vision group basically wanted to interview some of them looking at the project in the community. I've also got an international journalist who contacted me, especially at the face of community project where they're going to move. Meaning it's like a project that was sustaining it and making it spread across the country. Then employment, I'm saying, I would say I've told you before, these people are being called time and again to do this small, kind of interpret. Like one of them is now, she has become a national supervisor for the examination for the country, because she's a teacher who in one of the schools here for deaf community in Gulu. So she has been now called to supervise. She's now supervising national exam here, and others, I call you, they're doing sign language interpreter there. 4 or 5 of them already in the church. During the church service, they do sign language interpretation. I think this is so far so good, and that's what we are moving toward. And the challenges that we could not escape, but one, we found is a lot of awareness. Very few people who are aware about the disinformation, they take it like gospel truth. Even the people we train them here, people who have the knowledge of technology, 90% or plus said they don't know anything about that. About only one person said he has heard about it, but does not know about it. I mean, we have a lot of gap there. So we need to find a way of best we can make this campaign become a bigger thing so that people are aware. Basically, by hearing there is something that is online which is not true, video, audio, text, all the things is enough for someone to be always watchful of whatever he or she does online and doesn't take it as gospel true. Then gaps in digital literacy. I told you before, there are people who do not have the digital, require skill to access information through the internet. You know, in this world where we have everything going online, about 4.5% of the global population online, and everything's going online. If this gap still exists, so it gives room for spread of disinformation and at the same time sharing of those information on digital platform. Then low capacity and outdated smartphones. Two of these people we trained did not have a smartphone. So there was a challenge. There's a woman of 47, I told you she had a laptop and we could not chase her away. We paired them with someone who had a phone. So fortunately, as I talk now, a good story, she has bought for herself a smartphone, a good one. Yesterday, she came to me and said, okay, Willie, I'm learning. I've now fact check about this and this. Maybe when we meet next time, you see how I've done mine. So I think this is like a story worth telling. 47-year-old in the modern digital technology here today, getting interested, buying a phone, and now she's ready to serve as sign language interpreter at the same time fact checker. I think this is good for the deaf community. Then, you know, the economic status, so people here cannot make them remain online forever. But sometimes you need to buy data to look at information that's not right. Sometimes power, they don't have power at home, charging phone, the phone may go off, the power bank is not there. Initially, we thought that we would buy a phone for these people, but the money was not, when you look into the budget of the money given, if we had to buy a phone, it would take half of the money given to have this project. So we decided to say, no, let's use what is available. Maybe with time opportunity comes, we can support them beyond training because we want them to be a change in community. So what next, as we now go to the last month of this project, we looking at building a network community fact checkers, I told you, across the country for the deaf community. We have started it from the north, the greater north, which has about 4 sub-regions, actually Lago, West Nile, and Parmujong. This is a part of the northern part of the country, but we want it to be a project for the whole country. Because our main target, we have about 5 regions in the country. Can we do regional training for all these sign language interpreter on how best they can use digital tools to disarm the spread of disinformation amongst the deaf community? Then the other project, a network we are having here, we want to network with different stakeholders, especially civil society organization, government, community-based organization who have their element, their project component, have the issue of disability. Those who have been advocating of base one, we give them the training, but we need financial support, like hiring the whole, feeding people we are training, so we cannot do it when we don't have the money. So we are going to have more dialogues, more engagement, how best we can put this project in something that will be bigger for this country. And also, we want this project enroll, this role in sign language projects, this project across the country. Can we have regional offices where these people can do mentorship after training? Maybe if new members come in, can they start afresh and do it from a center? So we want it like to be a project that will be to this country. Then I told you before, we are continuing having dialogue with the media managers, especially on how they can make their content accessible for the deaf. So that's a project we're ongoing with. If all goes well, then some of these sign language interpreters will be recruited, whether on voluntary basis, full-time, to do recording, because they say, okay, we need a balanced audience. You cannot just leave part of the other society not to grow. You want the other one, that we call. Finally, I tried out a lot of images that I thought I would share with you, but unfortunately, I wanted to make this presentation short. This is training. When you see the first one, training session 1, multimedia production, this is basically, we have group work. We were supervising these ladies using phone, you record, you edit, you do this, you present it on a PowerPoint, projector, big screen, we correct there, we edit as a group. And then the second lot also, we are doing fact checking. This was like image verification there. So there was some image where some information was manipulated. So when they uploaded using the Google image reverse image start, they found the original content was a little bit different from what's there. So they were excited. How these people have got, this is how information can get distorted. Then the last one, This guy speaking there is a teacher for sign language. When I sent them to do an assignment, they moved out from the training hall. This was along the road. You see that camera was recording him, trying to talk about the traffic at the road. They're telling the deaf that if you walk along this road highway, please try to keep left. In Uganda, we keep left. And also telling the driver, please respect the deaf community. If you're driving, if you're moving at where there are zebras crossing, please, you need to reduce the speed. Someone could be a deaf that will not be able to hear what you are doing. Basically, this is the project. I'm very grateful for the support. I think the project has come at the right time, and we now zero on majorly fact-checking segment, climate change, election reporting, agriculture, health, and many things. That will be a component within the main project, but basically we have skilled them, we have restooled them. They are now very capacitated. They're able to do the work we want them to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that. And yes, and really congratulations on how far. That is a really, really expensive presentation that really describes what you've done so far. And I'm really, really impressed. And something that was quite, that you made quite obvious in your presentation is how important this solution has to be, how important this particular group has to be. And the fact that we may not be, people may, in the media ecosystem may not be placing much attention to this issue, creates a lot of challenges. And we have some questions for you at the moment. And I think I would like to start with a question from Alicia, who is asking, is there more misinformation spreading among people who are deaf than people that can clearly hear? If so, how did you find out about misinformation spread among people who are deaf? So what are your thoughts on this?
Very much, yeah, it is there. A week when we have done the training, there's a video that was spreading on WhatsApp group. I forgot, during the closure, we called the chairperson of Gulu Disabled Union. Gulu Disabled Union is a sub-branch of Uganda NUDPU. So the board member came, and at the same time is the chairperson of the deaf community in actually Gulu district. So there was a spreading video shared in their WhatsApp there, some lady fighting here and there. At the end, the lady fought until that killed the colleague. So when he quickly realized something was not interesting, was causing a lot of worries among the deaf community on their WhatsApp, and where the communication, he forwarded to one of the people we trained, and they came together, two of them verified and found that, yeah, there was a fight, but the content in that information was manipulated. Two, the date that fight took place was many years ago, not something new. So second, there's another one also, a woman who was kicking a child here in Uganda, and it was spreading on that WhatsApp group, looked like something new. But it happened many years ago, and they share on the same WhatsApp group, they first check, verified that it happened, but the woman was arrested, taken to court, and she was taken to prison, looked like not something new. By this alone, it means more others that are not reported are there. And in community, community are the agents of misinformation in their location there. So this is physically, when you hear this and this has happened, this and this has happened. So community themselves spread. So this is the fact that misinformation exists. And when you see majority of people in Uganda, especially the deaf community, cannot access information online due to the access, but accessing the right information, where the challenge is, according to the latest statistic by Uganda Communication Commission, they said the deaf, about 10% of the deafs are able to access information online. But this information, they access any information, whether it being the truth or something not correct. So this means the spread of disinformation, misinformation is spreading through disinformation in the society we live in, and it's very deadly. And these people are online. Most of the guys are youth here. I've met them, they're online. And they want to go and tell this sign language interpreter, have you heard about this? Say, what is it? So when they talk about it and they bring it out, these people look at it, say, this thing is not true. These are testimonies these people are telling me. Even 3 days ago when we were here, there are two ladies who I have trained them, they're telling me the same. There's some young guy who came to them physically, say, I'm aware about this and this, but actually said, he got it from a YouTube. Sometimes they pick information from Opera Mini of phonics, so they take it like gospel truth. So they're there. This is it's there in Uganda, I think everywhere in the world. Because when you look at the people who own phone, in Uganda, the greater population, about 70% of the Uganda population have access to phone. And if you have that, so that's where the information issues is.
Yes, thank you. And we have a question from in countries where internet is not difficult to access, where people can access a lot of things. What are the ideal options that could actually be deployed to address misinformation among the deaf communities? So what other options, the question is like, what other options are out there that you can ideally use if things were working together, that you think in other parts of the world that some of the peculiar challenges that you mentioned that exist in Uganda are not existing, that those involved in reaching out to the deaf communities can also consider? So what are your thoughts on this?
Yes, I told you like there are three key ways how these people access information. The first thing I said like can be through video recorded messages. In a country where internet is not there, that is totally ruled out. They mean they are not able to access that information because those video recorded messages mainly spread through digital platform, can be on WhatsApp and the rest. Then I said it is also through SMS. There are people who send you automated messages on your phone. Whether the internet is not there, they're able to get a message and read. And then the last one, in a situation where the SMS are not there, maybe the video recording and the things not there now remain is now face-to-face. Now, if face-to-face in other countries where the internet is not required, this face-to-face, I told you before, my own finding here locally, I've realized members of the community where this deaf community live are the one now becoming agent of misinformation. In gathering, when they're going to face water, community meetings and the rest, in schools and blah, blah, at the health units. So this is how in the gossip center, they spread because they know how to speak to them. In such a situation, the thing that should be done, one, if there are sign language, like interpreters who are trained on how to communicate to these people, they should be almost all the time at those public places, can be at the hospitals, can be at the schools, can be at the water points, can be in the community meeting. Or in the church, they should be given a chance to talk to them. Much as you are hearing this and this, the people who are their interest is not known, their interest is to harm. So there's great information that spread like something true but not true. So these are things that we can do. We use the group leaders. The community leaders are there. They're agents. What do they hear about in their communities? So if the group leaders are there, then they assign themselves to the sign language interpreters who are trained, or the fact checkers who are trained on how best they can fact check information. So they'll be able to talk to them. Thank you.
You're already passionate. I think one of the things I like about you is how passionate you are about this project. And I think it's something that is relevant for any journalist that is interested in embarking on a project. You are the marketer, you are the face of that project. People will only support you on that project if you are passionate enough about it. So Willy, Betty would like to know the feedback that you've gotten so far. I think you mentioned it briefly, but once again, can you share some of the feedback that this project has had? And yes, so that's Betty's question. The mic is up.
Yeah, let me take it from the policy issues. I told you on our last day, we call the disability representative in the local government in Guluya. So last time he came to me that he has contacted some organization who want to support us to even continue training other members. Two, the issue of policy, because this thing has become a national thing, because it appeared on the television, and there are debates on how best UCC, that this is the Uganda Communication Commission, who are mandated to talk to radio managers on how best they can make that digital content. accessible to these people. Only in the exception of television, but we can make it to radio who have online kind of element. So that's on the policy issues is being discussed locally here, and he said he's going to present it at the council meeting. Since then, they have not held council meeting. I think he will present it maybe the local ordinary and the local policy here by the district will come out how best these people can be brought on board. Then apart from that, I've got calls from people within outside the country appreciating how we are fighting to bring digital inclusion for the disabled communities in Uganda, especially the deaf. And those among the calls are journalists who are interested in looking how big is the magnitude of the case here in Acholi and Uganda, and maybe what intervention the current government is doing to ensure that these people are catered for. So these are some of the few things. Then the last one is these people are being called time and again to do either voluntary work or short payment on sign language interpretation. Very few people know that these people exist. Even me, I only knew 2 by the time I was writing proposals. But when I coordinated with them, I found there are more than 20 and I was only able to train 11. So we are now created awareness. Then the biggest part that is very important is awareness about the spread of disinformation in society. And this is continuing, and radio stations are calling us for talk shows. How do you do it? The third one, there are many people who are calling. They want to be part of the training. Say, when is the next training? I want you to train us. I want you to train us. I want my children to come. Do you have a school? They look at me like I'm training people in sign language, yet I'm only skilling the sign language interpreter to use digital tools in bridging the gap and fighting disinformation in society. So these are basically the feedback we are receiving with the community or from the community. I think maybe 2 months after that are said, something bigger will come, because there's some people who want to do a follow-up from the training where they are. What have we done and what do we still want to do to bridge the gap? Thank you.
Yes, and I think what you just said goes into probably my next question, which is on expanding the number of people that are skilled in sign language. What is this process like? And because I believe that do you think there is a need for sign language journalists? And do you think how difficult or what is the process like if somebody, a journalist, is interested in venturing into that, so that the number of people that are skilled in doing this actually increases? And I strongly believe that a journalist that is also gifted in that skill would also have unimaginably bigger career opportunities if they're skilled to do that. So not just training current sign language, but increasing the number of sign languages. So what are your thoughts on sign language journalism? Your mic is up.
Yeah, I'm saying there is need to have sign language journalists. The deaf story are not being told. I remember a friend even this morning came for me, can you get for me one person? Because I want to go and talk to the chairperson of the Deaf Association in Uganda about the sporting activity coming next month. So these people their story are not being told because we cannot talk to them. Good enough, I've created now a network of sign language interpreters who are easily accessed and can easily link these journalists to the deaf community and they tell their stories. I think in the next time, the storytelling may change because they are there to bridge the gap. Now, when it comes to training, in Gulu we have training that offer this training certificate of completion. But in Uganda, there's one university, Kiambogo University, that offer diploma in sign language interpretation. And among the people I've trained, there's one who holds a diploma. That's the high level sign language interpretation. And she is the member of the Uganda National the National Association of the Deaf. So, and they are going to have in that meeting and present what we are doing today. So training sign language journalists is good. There are 2 people who tried here and they're not finished because one thing that you need to do is time management. You need to be there 5 minutes before the training. And my training was easy because these people always used to come before I come for the training. I say you come at 8, they will come at 7:30. They are good time managers. So if you're not time manager, you're a good time manager, you cannot do sign language interpretation. And then as the World Health estimates, I think journalists also need to center around how best they can use, they can communicate, especially getting feedback, because you cannot say you don't think about it. So journalists need to be given a skill on how best they can talk to the deaf community to enhance their plights. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Willy. And before I come back to you for your last remarks, I would also raise some issues that I think some attendees' personal experience. A couple of, as a journalist myself, I would just do my story, just go ahead and get what I want to put across, and not really put some considerations into ensuring that my content can actually reach the highest number of audiences. But my attention was drawn to one of the stories that I did some time ago by somebody that works with the deaf community. And I was told that you took time to do these things that you've done, but some people that cannot watch this video, that cannot hear, struggle to listen to this video. And in some communities, this is a major issue. So I believe there are little things that we can do at the moment to ensure that what we are doing reaches the best audience. And one of such is transcription. And these days, we see podcasts, we see interviews, we see radio stations also actively working on social media. They have live streams, they have their stuff coming on social media. So if you are actually developing these kinds of content, it is very, very important for you to start putting transcripts, live transcription and transcripts of your videos, of your productions into it, so that even people that cannot hear what people are saying in that video can actually read that. So it's a very, very effective tool. We've seen podcasts that are these days, we now see video podcasts that are making their way to social media. And when you have that, it's really, really important for you to also integrate and incorporate live transcripts into what you do. Any short video that I produce now, I always endeavor to transcribe them. There are AI transcription tools that currently exist that are now making the job easier. Long gone are the days that you have to be typing frame by frame on Adobe Premiere. But these days, if you just load your video into some AI tools, you are going to get sparkling clean transcriptions that you just have to go through and correct any errors that are made. So I really, really encourage you, if you are creating content on radio, or if you are creating multimedia content, to be intentional about transcribing. Another thing that is also important are the visualization tools. Even though people cannot read, but visualization tools that you can develop graphics out of your story, the key elements of what is happening, also share those kinds of elements on social media to extend the reach of what you are trying to do. Yes, so thank you so much. Before we close, I think I will bring back Willy to answer these last two questions. How long does it take people to become skilled in this kind of sign language interpretation?
Quickly.
And the second, yes, please. You can answer it, Willy.
Yeah, I said here they do training, basic. You take 3 months, you're able now to communicate. So you keep on, after 1 year, you complete it, accomplish. But sometimes for you to get a diploma in the whole module, it takes time. But basically, 3 months, they're able now to communicate basic.
Okay, thank you. Then the last question from Abraham. How many deaf people have learned fact-checking through this project and are so far helping also to educate their colleagues? Are they getting involved, or they just benefit from fact-check information and that sort? So what is the response?
Yeah, in the last phase of this project, I told you we are looking at face-to-face. In a family where these people are coming from, we're targeting the immediate caretakers. I told you can be a husband, a wife, a child, a sister, a brother, aunties. These are community. Now, if we empower these people who are able to verify the information they want, and now they fight the spread of disinformation, The next target in these people interact on daily basis almost with the deaf community. We want this deaf community who are able to read, who have digital tools, who have phones, who have smartphones that support digital tools verification. These members now become like their parent. You guide them like they were talking in the chat. Generally, how best they can fact check information, verify information before going. So we look at the dev themselves getting involved in fact checking. That's why we really created a WhatsApp group where we now so far have 50 members of the deaf community. In that WhatsApp group, they learn on their own with the sign language. We have trained interpreter, we have trained them on their own business. Those who are interested, slowly, especially those who have studied, they train them, the deaf themselves now getting involved in fact-checking information and telling their own deaf members, this is not right, this is right. So this is what we're doing in the last phase of the 2-month mentorship project. So when they come, we already assign them, they know who they are. And those who have smartphone already on WhatsApp group, then what next is how basically they can do simple verification so that they become part of this fact-checking community I'm talking about. The deaf and the sign language interpreter are members of the fact-checking community I'm talking about, plus their relatives. So if these people have come together, they form a formidable force that will be able to fight it or disseminate of disinformation in Uganda today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And so we've come to the part where I ask Willy, what are your last remarks? And while you put your thoughts together, I just want attendees to know that we are actively engaging and we are highly interactive. So I encourage you to join our Facebook community where we share resources, information, tools, and guidances for journalists and people that are working in the media space, and opportunities too, like this fellowship that really applied for. So I encourage you to be part of our Facebook community. I've made it so simple for you. You just go to the chat box and click the link, and you'll be part of that community. So Willy, what is your last remark and thoughts?
Okay, my last remark is just, I do appreciate you as international media organization. I've benefited a lot. I did an 8-month training during COVID-19 sponsored by International Center for Journalists under Africa Mobile Journalism Project. And that's how I got the skill to become a mobile journalism trainer. And then fact-checking, I also did a number of online training on fact-checking with the same. And last year I was in Nairobi in the Regional African Fact-Checking Conference in Kenya. So this built my capacity as a passion, we're interested in using technology in journalism to make who I am today. And then secondly, the same organization supported me in this project where we are now causing change in the whole country to make digital inclusion. I just say I'm very, very happy and very appreciative of what you're doing. And then lastly, the coming of artificial intelligence and maybe machine learning together with journalism. The last time we were discussing, it is a threat or it's an opportunity for journalists. I even attended one webinar. If there was a way journalists who are interested, we bring in artificial intelligence and machine learning into newsroom as a component of something that we consider for our future work would be very important. Like you said, when I'm doing transcript, there's already auto-generated text that I don't need to type. So what I only correct is the pronunciation of some word that is not clear to the machine, then I just edit. So that make the work very simple. If you could make journalists have their skills on how best they can use digital tools in improving their communication for both the disabled community and the member community, I think this would be something very great for this country. You know, every time we go for election, there's a lot of issues. Every time we go for maybe we have climate change issue, there are a lot of information. Every time we go for health issue, there's a lot of misinformation. Journalists need to take fact-checking as something very important, especially in the newsroom, so that we stop feeding our audience with information that are not correct, and we do the correct one for our audience. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much for that. And I really appreciate and I wish you the very best. I can't wait to hear more about how you are progressing in this project. It sounds really exciting. And for me, I believe it has a lot of opportunities for scaling up, for expanding it, not just in Uganda, but beyond Uganda. And I hope several journalists on this call would be inspired by your story and would be interested in doing something similar for their country. And the International Center for Journalists would always be happy to support you to the best of our ability. And if you need guidance from Willy, I'm more than happy to facilitate the connection. So do not hesitate to reach out, and we are going to get that conversation going. To everybody that is, I'm really impressed with the participants that are those that are actually actively involved in this space, that are striving towards ensuring that the news gets to as many people as possible, and those that are also working and driving communications and addressing misinformation, especially regarding this group of amazing individuals. So well done, and we wish you all the best. And to learn more about this initiative, I encourage you to check out the International Center for Journalism website on www.org, and to get more resources for your journalism and for other things that we are working on. I encourage you to check out International Journalism Network website on www.ijnet.org. And thanks for allowing us, for spending time with us this evening, this morning, late night, whatever the time zone you are in. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the day. I hope you've gained one or two things from this session. But if you still have more questions that you'd like to ask, do not hesitate to reach out. You can send me a DM. If you join that Facebook community, you can post on our wall, or you can send me an email at p@adepoju@icj.org. Thank you very much. And I also want to say a quick shout out to everybody that is watching this live stream on Facebook. Thank you for being part of this conversation today. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the day. Bye from me. Bye-bye.